20,000 youth through speaking, coaching, and mentoring. He has inspired us for years. Welcome to EMIY Podcast with your host, Calvin T. Mann, the Encourager.
Hello, hello. I am Calvin T. Mann. I am the female alternative, serving as your hostess today. In our studios, we have the lovely Rochelle Morton. We have the intriguing Crystal Gunn.
Oh, hello.
We have our engineer and DJ Jay Boog holding us down with the engineering of the show. So just want to thank our crew for being here today and for all of you who have registered so far for the Women's Safety Net coming up on Sunday, August the 29th. So if you haven't seen the link on Facebook or Instagram, this is your chance to go ahead and log on. Be one of those first 50 women to sign up and sign in. So we're looking forward to you being there, being present, and meeting with all three of us as we're sharing our information around women's safety. And so today our topic for discussion is how can women heal our wounds to be safe again? We want to be safe again. Women need to be able to walk comfortably through their communities, to go and run errands and be safe. Women need to be able to look at their finances and be safe and confident in what their next steps are. Women need to be confident and safe in our understanding of who we are and our personal journey, and increasing our spiritual growth and development. And so we're going to look at how women can heal our wounds through these three different lenses this evening. So glad you're with us. I am Heather Heteru. I will be kind of leading this discussion with my sisters here in the studio as we try to share our insights, share our experience, and our expertise in these areas. So I want to first start off with, we'll just do some introductions. We'll let Rochelle talk a little bit about her and her expertise in how women protect themselves and families can help protect their family members. So Rochelle, if you don't mind sharing a little bit.
Absolutely. And hopefully I won't take up too much time because I can do that. But
no. We have it together, so it's good.
So my name is Rochelle Morton. I am with Damsel in Defense, which is a personal protection and safety products company. The products are primarily for women and their families. And I've been with the company for 7 years now. And but I was able to change one law here in Michigan so that we could have some of the products that Damsel in Defense offers. And I'm still working on getting another law changed. But it's all about keeping us safe and allowing us to have kind of a sense of empowerment as we're going about our daily lives and not feeling threatened everywhere we go. Just have some level of self-confidence that we can, not necessarily level the playing field, but, at least get some of the, get it, somewhat level, maybe a little, off balance. But
right.
If we can defend ourselves and be a hard target and not a soft target, that is half the battle.
Absolutely. Yes, very important. Crystal Gunn, join us in the conversation. Tell us a little bit about you, what you do.
I am Crystal Gunn, founder of the Amazing Woman Network and financial strategist to women. Every day I go about my life, how can I empower Black women first and then the Black community in general. So I'm all things Black economics and empowering us to be more, grow more, do more, in order to change our collective and individual circumstances.
That's awesome. Thank you. And my role today is as a personal change coach. I'm a little bit of a twist to what you might see as a regular personal change coach or life coach or coach. We still have elements of what we do in common. However, we look a little bit deeper with your inspired journey. We look at the metaphysics of our lives. We look at the next level, the deeper levels, how it affects us mind, body, and spirit, absolutely, but also how it guides you towards your journey. There are no mistakes. There are missteps. There is misguidance. There are missed tools, missed opportunities, but there are no mistakes. And once we start to remove judgment from the spaces and the places that we were in our past, we are empowered to move forward in the future with a life that is life-changing and more meaningful, and allows us to live life as opposed to being a passive observer. And so our collective expertise is going to be, of course, shared at the Women's Safety Net Empowerment, Women's Safety Net workshop. It will be empowerment to the women who attend. And the cost is, it is an intentional cost of a package of unused sanitary napkins or panty liners. And so our goal to collectively as the Amazing Women Network and individually in our belief in support of women is the end of period poverty. Yes. And that is the lack of resources where women and girls have to choose from one basic need to this basic need. So we want to make sure that we keep that at the forefront of our minds, that simple thing, but it's something that happens in the lives of women and girls every day. And, in these spaces that we occupy, that we need to make sure that we're filling that space and mending that gap and building that bridge that women don't and girls don't have to make that choice that is already available to them. And so we're doing our part to do that.
Absolutely.
And just like those women who are going to be attending, are doing your part by paying your cost to attend. So we appreciate you in advance for registering and bringing those valuable products with you when you come, as well as an open mind and heart for the information that we want to help deposit into you. So let's start with our topic again. So we're going to kind of step back and reframe about this question: how can women heal our wounds? So I think I'll start, if you guys are open, I'll start for a moment talking about wounds. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we're going to look at this again through a couple of different lenses: the financial, the safety, and the spiritual lens. All right, and so wounds can be areas of constant hurt. That would be fears, that would be disappointments, that would be broken trusts. And so also there could be wounds that are personally inflicted or that someone inflicted upon you physically. So you could have broken bones or bruises. You could have cut marks. You could have bullet wounds. You could have all kinds of physical wounds. You could have other kinds of injuries that also cause some levels of post-traumatic stress, right? So when you see or hear something that triggers an incident, that might set you into that course of being unsafe. No matter where you are, no matter if the space that you're in is safe, mentally and physically, you may still feel unsafe. So wounds can go very deep. And so we're going to talk right now about some of the physical wounds that we have a tendency to experience as women. So I'm going to ask Rochelle to talk a little bit about some of her experiences, what she's seen, and how she's helping us to be able to better prevent these types of physical wounds from taking place.
Yeah, so, there are a lot of statistics out there regarding crimes primarily against women. Mm-hmm. We know that a violent crime happens every 26 seconds. Not just any crime, but a violent crime every 26 seconds. So even in the last 5 minutes that we've been talking, 11 have happened somewhere.
Wow.
And we're going to hear about those tonight when we get home, when we look at the news.
Right.
And we're just going to be prayerful that whoever is part of the news story is not someone that we know and love. We'll still send out prayers to those people, but
yes,
we're constantly concerned about our safety. And when it comes to that particular statistic, we have to be situationally aware. We have to be mindful of what's going on around us and to be prepared and not scared. And that's a mind shift for a lot of people, because a lot of times when we're walking, we're just focused on, that narrow path, and we're not paying attention to what's going on around us. And meanwhile, that criminal who has been plotting and planning all day long and has targeted us to be the next victim, they're prepared and we're not. And so we have to flip that and actually throw them off of their game. And that takes a lot of preparation. You have to be prepared to defend yourself, and you cannot be scared about what pain you may inflict on your attacker, because the attacker is not concerned about the pain that may be inflicted on you. So,
yes.
and I could go on and on forever, so I'll stop.
So tell us a little bit about, you mentioned it being a hard target and a soft target. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yes, so a hard target is someone who has a level of self-confidence. You're walking with your head up, you're looking straight ahead, you're looking, whoever it is that's in your space, directly in the eye. When you have direct eye contact, that is a deterrent immediately. Because if you are an attacker, you don't want the person you're attacking to be able to identify you. And if I'm looking you directly in the eye, I'm going to be looking for something, a facial feature or something, where I can actually pinpoint and describe something specific about you instead of just giving a generic, I don't know, he was, 6 feet tall and I didn't really pay attention to anything else. If I'm looking you dead in the eye, I'm at least find something. It might be a pimple. It may be,
right.
Some gray hair. It could be anything, an eyelash or anything.
Right.
But I'm going to find something so that I can identify my attacker. So that makes me a hard target because I'm already on the defensive.
Okay.
A soft target is one who is operating in, just please don't bother me. I'm just, going to go straight to my car. I'm, going to not say anything to anybody. I'm already scared enough as it is. Please leave me alone. And that, of course, that fear is what the attacker automatically senses and is drawn to. And they can play on that very easily if you are not careful and not prepared to defend yourself and say, not today.
What are so we talked about some of the physical wounds that could be inflicted. So in defending yourself, what are some of the typical physical wounds that a woman has to be prepared to endure if she's prepared to fight?
So, a lot of times what I will recommend to primarily to women and to their daughters as well is to find a self-defense class.
Okay.
I don't teach self-defense, combat training like that. I've taken several classes, so I know what to do. But it's something that every woman and every daughter should absolutely take because you need to be able to learn how to block a fist,
okay.
how to, break a chokehold, how to, throw your attacker off balance so that you can flee.
Okay.
The name of the game is to get away.
Okay.
You're not necessarily looking to kill anybody unless you have a pistol or something like that. But
that's our Jamie G. That's our Jamie G. You don't want to come in contact with her. Don't be fooled by her size.
Absolutely,
right?
absolutely.
Don't be fooled by her size. She's an amazing, incredible woman. So that's not one you want to meet on the street. No.
But there are certain things that you will learn when you take a self-defense course that you don't even have to have a weapon in your hand. Your hands are your weapons if you learn how to use them properly and make sure that for the attacker, if they're attacking you and they've got their hands around your neck, that means that something is exposed on them.
Right.
That's your opportunity. If they've got their hands up here around your neck, you go for something else that's a little more easy to get to, and you want to drop and do whatever you need to do to throw them off and to grab whatever and cause some real pain so that they are forced to release.
Okay.
And that's your opportunity to pay attention to your exit points and get out.
Okay. So if you get punched in the process, if you get scratched in the process, if you get choked in the process, do you stop?
No, absolutely not. Because you're in the fight for your life.
For your life.
You are in the fight for your life. There are people who are looking for you to come back home.
That's right.
And you have to remember that. If nothing else, remember that the people you left and said goodbye to in the morning are looking to welcome you back home in the evening. And so you have to fight for your life, and you can't worry about the life of your attacker.
So I was thinking that sometimes women are kind of put off by your size versus your attacker. Does that have any bearing on how you fight?
Not me. No, I mean, because whether the person is tall or short, I can still use my hands and my feet and whatever else I need to. If I have to do a headbutt or whatever I need to do, elbows, all of that, in order to fight off my attacker. As long as I know where the pressure points are and the pain points are, which I've learned from self-defense, then I can use those tools and techniques. And then, of course, if I happen to have some Damsel in Defense products, then I'm gonna give them just a little bit more than just my little physical.
So
fist.
give us the top three. What's the top three?
The top
Easy.
three. happen to be on this key ring.
Let's go. Let's go.
Well, I got 2 of the 3 on. So on this key ring, and I'm not. Am I on camera?
You are.
So this is called a socket to me Kubaton.
Kubaton.
This is a
It
solid.
sounds tough.
It is.
It's Heather's favorite.
This is a martial arts tool, and it's solid aluminum. And instead of me having my keys laced between my fingers like we've all been taught, instead of doing that and having like a little piece of metal sticking out and the rest of the key going into my own palm and me being hurt, I now have my fist wrapped around this solid piece of aluminum. And so if you get hit with this, and this is a force multiplier, so
Okay.
now my hands are no longer empty, which makes me a hard target because I have something in my hand to fight with. But if you get hit with this, it's going to have you down on the ground.
Right.
You will be down. If you, I mean, you know, I'm gonna let you see what this.
Oh, I'm not.
So,
I know it is.
and-
I got a cousin that got it.
okay.
Okay.
It's a blunt object. If you use it right, it's going to cause them a lot of pain.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yep. So.
Okay, so
this-
number 1, we got the Kubaton.
Yes. So this is number 1, and then number 2, which is what.
It's a kick out of sand.
Yes.
Number 2 is pepper spray.
Okay.
Now, when I joined Damsel in Defense, we could not, in Michigan, we couldn't have this. We could have the equivalent of mace, which is 10% of the ingredient that causes the burning sensation. But the federal government allows 18% across the United States. So I was able, after 3 years of working with the Lansing legislators, I was able to get the law changed so that we could have the 18%.
Whoop, whoop.
And the reason why...
Power player. Power player.
That's big.
Thank you.
That's
huge.
That's
Thank you. The reason why it was so important to me is because of the added benefits that come from this particular pepper spray. It has an orange ultraviolet dye. So it's going to change the color of the skin and mark the attacker.
Oh,
And
okay.
even when that discoloration wears off, if they're put under a black light within 72 hours, their skin is going to glow.
Wow.
So if I can't identify my attacker by looking at photos or whatever, and they're in a lineup and I can't tell who it is, if I've marked them with this pepper spray, game over.
Right.
I have what I need.
Right.
This pepper spray shoots 16 feet away.
Wow.
And because it's 18%, it will give you 30 to 45 minutes of time to watch your attacker fall on the ground and cry and all of that stuff while you make your way out the door.
Okay, no going back and kicking.
No. You don't need to go look at your handiwork. Get out. Get out.
She said, "No, I need a little bit more. I need a
little more.
I got some. Yeah, see, that's not good advice. I'm just gonna keep quiet on that subject.
No, the name of the game is to make it home safely.
It's to
your
make it home
family.
safely. I know. So I've had to use self-defense twice in my life, and trust me, yeah, it was not a pretty. They were not in a good standing when I was done with them. Let's just say that.
They
I've had
shouldn't
to
be
go back for
standing
more.
at all.
No. I had a police flashlight, and I was whacking on the
Oh,
head
yeah.
after I hit them over the head. You guys remember the phones? The stationary phones that you had the rotary, the heavy ones.
Yes.
That was the first hit. Yeah, my brother and I caught somebody breaking in our house, and he was in the house. It was totally by surprise, and he was probably about 6'4" or something like that. He was a kind of slim guy. So I don't want to go into that story. Let me just say that.
Basically, she won.
Right. Yeah, my brother left me alone with him. Because he had told my brother that it was somebody else in the house besides him, to get my brother to let him go. And so, because he figured he was just with me, right? He was okay.
Bad decision.
Right, and I was calling the police.
Oh, with
So
the phone.
I had the phone, so it was the old stationary phones, right? Yeah, this was in the early 80s.
That's so funny.
Oh my gosh. When he got up, my brother was like, "You don't want to mess with my sister, just stay there," right? And he was trying to get up and try to get out the door.
No, you're not going.
Oh yeah, I smacked him the first time across the back of the head because he was trying to run and get away. Yeah, and then when the police came, they were checking the house, and I inadvertently got access to one of the police
Flashlights.
Inadvertently.
and he tried to run. He tried to run again.
Oh gosh.
Right. So if you guys have ever had, I have one at home too. I have one at home too, so I keep it close to where I can have access to it. So yeah, it's a whacker. It's a whacker. So now that I have the Kubotan,
Yes.
you know, I can have that in my hand, which I'm so much more conscious and aware about, because you've done a situational awareness class. Jamie Gabriel has done a situational awareness class, and just some of the things that I really thought I was being safe, right? It was so embarrassing to have a conversation that that as much as I thought I knew, that I kept setting myself up for disaster. And so I'm so glad that you do what you do, that you get the information out, and that you make it open. So Rochelle, I know she hasn't had a chance to say this yet, but I'm just going to jump the gun a little bit. Rochelle will offer to groups a situational awareness training, so that it helps you to be able to prepare. I mean, these are things that you do every day in everyday life that set you up and you don't even know. I mean, her classes are amazing. So if you have an opportunity, you have a group of family members, you have daughters and granddaughters going off to college, you have neighbors and friends, this is a great opportunity to meet Rochelle, first of all, because just being in her presence, you already light up. But secondly, when she starts to talk about these tools and the safety and the importance of it, you know, she's so beautiful and so mild when you talk to her, but you know, the beast is on the scene when she's in this mode. So, I mean, you can see a little bit
awakened.
Exactly. I mean, when you've had experiences where you had to fight for your life, you're not the same person that you were before. And so, which is one of the reasons why I love the Kubotan, because I was in that position where I had to fight for my life twice in my lifetime. So in that time, I've learned a lot, but I keep taking in new information. There is no such thing as not having too much information.
Correct.
It's just not. It's not. And with the changing times, we had that experience too. So, Rochelle, just a quick drop, because I know we're going to talk about this throughout, but drop your information. How can they get in touch with you? How can they set up that situational awareness session with you?
Okay, so the first thing you need to do is go to my website at personalprotecther.com. That way you can take a look at all of the products that I offer with Damsel in Defense. I've only talked about 2 of them so far, but on the 29th, I'll be talking about much more than that.
Absolutely.
You can reach me on Facebook. Just look for Rochelle Morton. You'll see me. I'm there, and you'll see a lot of stuff about Damsel in Defense. And you can also reach me by phone. I'll put that out there as well. It is 313-418-4555. And the last one will be my email, which is personalprotecther@gmail.com.
Thank you. So I know we have one more that you're going to share with us. We talked about the top 3 of your personal items for defense.
Yes. So one of the other top 3 that I would love to have talked about, but we can't have them here in Michigan, would be the stun device. And but in the meantime, until we get the stun device, since I'm on camera, I'm just gonna show you this. Looks like a lot of stuff, I know, but this actually is the arm candy, and so that just goes on my wrist. And that way, when I'm walking to my car or wherever it is that I'm going, if I feel like I'm threatened in any way, I have all of my protection right here. And I can just grab whatever I need, whether it's my pepper spray or whether it's my striking tool. If somebody tries to snatch my keys, I actually have an extra key ring on here that's a breakaway key ring. This is magnetic, so if someone tries to take my keys, this pulls apart, they can have the keys. I still have all of my protection right here in case they weren't after the keys at all, and in case they were really interested in me. So I have everything I need to be able to fight them off right here. And so that would be, to me, the arm candy and the breakaway key ring are critical because when we tend to have pepper spray, most people have it on the key ring with all the other keys. If someone gets a hold of your keys, you are now empty-handed, and you've equipped your attacker with what you thought you were going to use for yourself. So you need to have some type of breakaway key ring so that you can easily separate your keys from your protection. You never want to equip your attacker with what they need, what you intended to attack them with.
Right.
So that's part of my arsenal.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Rochelle. Thank you for sharing it.
That's so awesome, just to be able to see, because when you're driving, you see these young girls walking up these major streets by themselves, and it's always heartbreaking to me because they are so easily targeted.
Yep.
And they have no protection, and sometimes they have the earbuds in, and you just can't hear when someone's coming up behind you. So, yeah, to be able to get that in more hands of more people would be awesome.
Along with that information about situational awareness.
For sure.
Absolutely.
Yes. So, Crystal.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell us how we can heal these financial wounds that we are experiencing and what they are for you. What are some of the financial wounds?
So, one thing that people don't understand is everybody has a relationship with money and finance. 9.9 times out of 10, your relationship was created by somebody other than you. Right?
Ooh.
Yeah, it was created by somebody other than you. And so the other thing is we're operating in a constant state of survival, right? That's been handed down from generation to generation. So when we talk about those generational curses, so let me ask a question. When you all hear people say, oh, we want to break these generational curses, what are some of the things that you typically hear people say?
That's a lot of financial.
Yeah, but like
educational. I'm the first one to go to college. I'm the first one to own my own home. I'm the first one to have an upper class vehicle, right? Lexus, and all those kind of things, right? Or my family has never had, this level of income. My family, have always been employed, not owners or entrepreneurs.
Right.
So for me, those would be some of the top things that I hear in my work anyway.
Absolutely. But the generational curses that we are not talking about are those things that have been passed down from our ancestors in our DNA that we don't even know that's impacting us. Because when you think about what those in slavery had to go through in order to survive, right? Those self-images, those strategies, those tactics, we're still doing them, right? So think about the female slave who, she didn't have an option if the slave master wanted to sleep with her, he was raping her, right? And so, but in some instances, yes, you have to go along with it, because if you don't, it's death or some other things, right? Think about how many women today are sleeping with someone for financial stability because we have to survive, right? So all of those things. Now, we still need to have survival strategies. Survival strategies are important, but we can't operate in a state of survival. So also when we think about, and I know everyone's heard it being said, right? Well, such and such got to this position and they didn't help anybody else that looked like them, right? Now think about it. If I'm back in slavery and I'm working in the big house, it's only so many of us can work in the big house, right? So I'm not trying to open up the door to let anybody in because I got this position. So I don't want to let anybody else in, right? So it's all of those things. And so they show up differently, but the same in this day and age. So you have to learn and you have to figure out what are those triggers and what are those things showing up. And it's interesting. You talked about the violence and attacking women. Some women are living in violence right now.
Absolutely.
At home, right?
Right now.
And some of them can't leave because they don't have the financial safety and stability in order to do so. So they have to put up with whatever is happening in that household in order to survive. So we have to be able to pull those things out and then take those things and say, you know what? Yeah, these survival strategies are good, but as opposed to being in a constant state of survival, how do I take these traits and use them to position myself for financial success? And that's what I look at when I work with somebody, like, and we build that personal strategy. But yeah, we're building that financial strategy, but we're also looking at those things that you've inherited, that's running through your DNA. You know, you have some women who are working from before sunup to after sundown, right?
Yes.
And they don't understand why they can never get ahead. Or, right, they just think that that's what's supposed to be done. And perhaps if you look back at their parents, they may have worked before sunup to after sundown just to make ends meet. So that's one of those things. That's how their financial relationship has been created, because that's what they saw in their household. Or the family who, you know, they lived in an area and they heard all of the time, the people who had money in the area, they were either criminals or bad preachers or whatever, right? And so you then don't want to grow up to be these bad people who have money. So your whole money subconscious is you not happy. You know what I mean? So it's all of those things that until you start to pull them apart, you just don't really understand, okay, how come I just can't get to that next level? Probably doesn't have anything to do with your talent and your ability to earn revenue. It's those things, right? That keep showing up time and time again. And so we have to break past them.
Wow. That's a real safety perspective.
Yeah.
Because when you think about our finances, you don't think about relationship with your finances. You don't think about family history with your finances. It's always what's right in front of me. What can I make happen right now? Right. And then how can I survive the point between having resources, financial resources, and not having financial resources? What's happening in the interim, right? And then we get into our hustle, right? We get into our hustle, and just like we talk about in BSN, our goal is to move past the mindset of the hustle.
Absolutely.
And what does that look like?
Right.
So I appreciate you sharing this really interesting perspective about financial safety that looks deeper into our family history, our DNA, the genetics of our financial makeup. That is incredible.
Yeah, and we'll talk about more about that on the 29th and those self-images that we've put on ourselves because of different things, and, you know, from the independent woman and what that really looks like in that survival mode and how it shows up. And it shows up as burnout. Right? But somebody in your life has let you down, someone, and where you said, I gotta do it myself. And you don't even, you don't know that it relates to and impacts the things that are happening in your life financially today, because you've never considered it. Not enough people are talking about it.
No, not on this level, not in this way.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I mean, if I had this as a college student going into college,
oh, for sure. Yeah.
Oh man, I mean, all of the missteps and mishappenings and misguidance and misinformation, right? Because if you're my family, we learned about saving and economics, but it was some things missing. So my mom had the Paula's Candy Store. So she had this store in our house. So she had an employment office, and she had a store, and she had a bank, right? All this in the house.
Nice.
Great lessons. Something happened in a transfer from childhood to adulthood, where something in that lesson for me did not translate to adulthood. Like I'm good with working. All my whole family, we're good with working, but at some point I had to break away because I needed to be able to create jobs and opportunities for other people, right? So my mindset was about getting those resources, getting the experience, getting the tools, right? All those things. So now I'm building Your Inspired Journey, and I'm still learning and unlearning those very behaviors that you talked about. How to be more safe in my finances. How to be more safe just walking from your car to a building. Right, exactly. These things seem so very basic, but they're so much deeper. And I love this conversation about looking at the deeper meanings in things, because we're so surface and we're so quick to overlook it. Okay, well let's just get this done. Let's get over this. But if you haven't done the work, and this is self-work, if you haven't done the self-work, it puts us in another vulnerable position.
I say all the time in workshops or when counseling someone that you could walk into work tomorrow and they give you a $50,000 raise. If you haven't changed your mindset, gotten your habits together, and now know and learn and have learned what to do, and if you're currently living paycheck to paycheck, you're still going to be living paycheck to paycheck. It doesn't matter how much money you make. It's what you do and how you do it and how everything impact. Why do you need 200 pair of shoes?
Well,
listen, and this is coming. Listen, and this is coming from somebody who also loves shoes, right? So you have to though put it in perspective, and you see. I know.
You're hurting me.
I know.
I'm feeling damaged right now.
Oh, no.
This is like this is a sensitive
It
space.
is a sensitive.
You have to have 200 pairs of shoes for color. For season, for strappies, you have to have cute strappies.
Listen,
You need 200 colors?
Well, they're shades.
They're shades. It's it's not just red. There's shades of
And then there's style.
shades of blue.
It's the season.
Yeah.
You can't just wear any, basic blue with another
you
kind of blue. You can't.
I get it. Yeah, I was being facetious.
He has women in his life. He understands. Go ahead. Sorry.
We have everything is targeting us, right? So first we have to understand that we as a community have been targeted to be consumers, right?
That's correct.
And so we're consumers and we're then making everybody else rich. And now I have 200 pairs of shoes. I got bags that I, can't pronounce the name of, and they weren't by black designers, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't have the same amount of money to put in the bag that I bought to pay for the bag, right? And there's this constant thing. They're shopping every week. Now, I'm not saying don't shop. I'm not saying don't have the shoes. But you have to, again, go back and do the work and look at why. Right. Is it that self-image that you're trying to portray, right, when your bank account is empty, right? And so I challenge everybody that I work with, and every time I'm in a workshop, right, we talk about self-love. That's self-love and self-care. We hear that all the time now. Self-love, self-care, self-love. I don't hear them talking about finances when they talk about self-love and self-care. Right. So you want to know about your own self-love and your own self-care, look at your bank account. That's going to tell you how much you really care about you and how much you really care about your kids.
Right. And that is, again, that is a very vulnerable space.
And I'm gonna be nicer at the event.
No calling people out. Just don't ask the question. How many people have 100 pairs? Yeah, but I do recycle my shoes.
Everybody gonna put their hands up. And she gonna make that statement, and everybody gonna be like,
right.
We're gonna have a
very self-check.
Yeah, we're gonna have and there's no reason that you can't have them, but there's just a way in order to be able to do that. We're gonna talk about all of that and so much more at the event, and it's just about those aha moments that I want you to leave with, so that you then do something different, so that your children don't also grow up doing that same exact thing.
And so I want to just interject that this process of change, because I think that's important.
Yes.
But there's another system that I want to talk about that goes along with the process of change. So this is the system that gets people to act, to change their mind, to change their thinking, to do any of those kinds of things, right? So now we have the information, right? Now we know about situational awareness. Now we know that it's deeper than this, right? So what I discovered or uncovered, it's nothing that is new, right? What I have uncovered is that there are these 5 triggers. So, Crystal, while you are at Trinity, I have uncovered that I am a pentagon. I have 5 points, right? 5 points that always follow me. So I'm excited about that. So the first one is that the thing that gets us to move on new information is a trigger. something that triggers it. Sometimes it's the challenge that, you know what, you stupid if you don't do it. You can call me stupid. I'm going to show you. And off we go, right? That trigger got you moving.
That trigger got you moving.
The second one is opportunity. Having the opportunity of a lifetime. I have an opportunity of a lifetime at this Women's Safety Net workshop, right? I'm going to meet with some real women, saying some real things in a real way that resonates with me. I'm there.
And it only costs you one open package of sanitary supplies. Go ahead.
Right.
One unopened.
Unopened.
And so the third thing is timing. Now I've done all this self-work. I've done all these things. Now I just needed this last piece. And now it's time for me to act, right? The next one is inspiration and motivation. We got T.D. Jakes. We got Miles Monroe. We got Ayanna Van Zandt. We got all of these amazing motivational, inspirational speakers. And it's just that one thing that they said on a particular day that reached me. And that got me moving, right? So the other one, and this last tool is the consequence of your inaction. The consequence of your inaction is going to cost you, or it can cost the ones you love, right? So if your plan and your children's plan is to go to college, right? And you don't have the resource, the consequence is that they don't go. We have a caller? Somebody wants to talk with us?
This is T-Mobile. Now,
It's not.
including
It's T-Mobile.
Well, T-Mobile wanted to drop a dime, but you don't get any playtime here, T-Mobile. Yeah, unless you do. Oh, is it a real caller? Okay. All right. Do we have a caller? You want to comment on some things that we're sharing today? Or you want to add to it?
Yeah, throw them shoes away and put that money in the bank account.
Why we let him call in?
Right. You couldn't stay away, Calvin, man. I thought you were on vacation.
We need to stack that.
I love it.
Right. Yes.
Right, we need to stack that. I needed that. I was like, okay, I'm trying to stay away. But when she said shoes and 200 pairs, all I can think about is all the money they spend on weave.
On weave?
Yeah.
I just want to throw that in. We've made $1 billion industry for somebody else. You guys are doing great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us, Calvin. For popping in. I think that's a really good discussion. That we'll probably hear that at one of Crystal L. Gunn's.
Absolutely. You know it.
What is it called? Crystallized what?
The website, crystallized.faith.
Crystallized faith, yeah. So when she does this big financial workshop coming up, I'm sure this year before the end of the year, she'll be able to talk about our choices.
Don't you just love how Heather does that?
Yes.
It's not a fight.
Something else you got to go do.
Right. Yeah, because I can do a whole workshop on that, but that's part of our removing our masks
For
too.
sure.
And finding those areas of self-love that are first. Those things are first. And, don't even talk about how your hair is your antenna and that's how you get information and downloads. We could go there, but Calvin just put that in my head. And so I'm going to keep focused on what we're trying to
The last two that you were doing.
Mm-hmm. Oh, the consequences.
Yes.
Actually. So when we don't act, there are always consequences,
Absolutely.
right? We can miss opportunities. We can lose sight of the goal, like you talked about for your children. When you love your children, when you have vision for them, when you have plans for them, then we're constantly preparing for their future and their emergence. So I think that's really important. But also your own consequences. If you don't and you're in this situation, what's next for you? What then happens that puts you in a crisis mode that may keep you in that same loop, that same loop where you're unsafe and those wounds are constantly open. We want to heal our wounds. And I think a large part of this this women's safety net conference workshop is designed to give some basic tools, some basic insight. These are some things that you can do and do now and transition into, that we must transition into these things. We must elevate to these new levels for the time and the season that we're in. And so I do want to talk a little bit about this idea of spiritual safety. And again, this is my 5. And this 5 is around our strongholds and how some of our past safety issues, concerns, and wounds open up these strongholds for us. So let me go over the 5 strongholds, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. I think we got a few more minutes to go. So the 5 strongholds are pride, control, which is my favorite, rejection, abandonment, and distraction. These are the 5 strongholds that are kind of that generational pathway that's been embedded in our DNA, that each generation, each woman in that generation is really responsible for overcoming, for healing those wounds that caused the strongholds in the first place. Because what we tend to do is repeat those cycles. We repeat the cycles of our mothers. We repeat the cycles of our grandmothers when they go unnoticed, unchecked, and unhealed. And so our goal now, today, for every woman that's listening, every woman that will see the recording of this, every woman that is ready for this next leap of faith, this is where it begins. It begins at recognizing first that we are trying to control our environments, but we have to take this level of control over it because our wounds are open, because there's somewhere broken trust. There's somewhere disappointment and fear. So how do we overcome that? We had some strategies to talk about today, and so we can do it. We can overcome these strongholds. That the pride, not being able to accept help, not being able to partner or pair yourself with a man that has a vision because you believe yours is bigger or yours is most important or you are most important, instead of being able to go with the ebb and flow in relationship. That's important. Pride will cause you to lose something that's good that you didn't even realize was good because you didn't see it as good at the time. And we typically throw our men and our boys, our sons away like that without knowing that's what we're doing, because we think that we're loving them when we're really trying to control them. And when somebody tries to tell you, your pride won't let you hear it. I know what I'm doing. I am a good mother. Well, that's relative. And there are degrees of what's good. There's good degrees of what's good mothering, right? And it's not a judgment. By no means is there a judgment, because we have adapted into roles before we had the tools to or the equipment to be able to navigate that role. You get the title before you get the job description.
For sure.
And the training.
Sure. And
Right,
the training.
and the training.
Jesus, yeah.
Absolutely, right? So women become mothers, women become wives, and where was the instruction? Where was the training?
None.
I got the title, I got the idea of what I think it is, but when you get into it, you're like, what the heck is this stuff? Right? So I have 3 on my checklist, right? I have 2 very much marriages that I learned from and moved on, right? I moved on through divorce, but I moved on.
But you moved on.
Right. So it took me 3 opportunities to get enough skills to work through my strongholds, because pride and control, especially with open wounds, set up some challenges in my relationships, in my marriages. Rejection and abandonment was huge for my first one, because my first marriage ended because my husband left and I didn't know why. It was no real conversations like, oh, well, this is what it is. And I'm like, okay, now I'm embarrassed.
Right.
Now I'm embarrassed, right? Who am I going to tell? Who's going to help me close this wound? So it just stayed open. And even the mistakes that I might have made, I'm like, well, where can we have worked those things out? But I didn't get the opportunity to do that. Open wounds, now mistrust. And so now, as I'm going through this process, I'm really broken. And now, so it shifts me, like, I'm not going to have anybody take this kind of make me go through this again. So now I'm the independent black woman. Some fringe of anger, right? I got some fringes of the angry black woman on the outside, like a crisp, crisp piece of toast. Yeah. Right. So, and now I'm left with having to figure out the finances that we had merged together. Now I'm like, okay, now I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. So, we have this journey that we're on. But if we're not learning from this journey, if we're not healing from this journey and growing from this journey, we're bound to repeat the same things over again. For sure. The idea is that the next time you repeat that thing, that you're equipped with enough information because you've done some self-work, you've done some healing, and it no longer impacts you or affects you the same way now. You have some tools and strategies on how to be safe, right? That's what we're trying to get to. We're trying to be safe, elevate, and live out our joy. There is a scale of joy that we need to make sure that we keep in front of us. There is a middle ground. That middle ground is neither happy nor sad. There are a lot of people in that happy or not sad category. We want your joy to be full. That's joyful. And so that's on this side of the line, this side of the spectrum. The closer you are to this side of the spectrum, the more stress you feel, the more stress you experience, the more stress you put on others, because hurt people hurt people. Hurt people hurt people. And so if you're hurting, then you may inadvertently be hurting those who are trying to show and give love to you. You are unsafe for them. You're the one that makes people unsafe. You may not physically harm them. You might not financially harm them, but you may be spiritually harming them because you're hurt and not healing. So you're not doing the self-work. You don't recognize the triggers, the timing, the opportunity, the inspiration, the motivation, or the consequences. So women, our sisters, our collective we, listen, be there with us on Sunday, August 29th at the Women's Safety Net. Be there with us. Share with us, get this level of expertise, get these resources and tools to help you retool. Your joy should be full. You shouldn't have to debate whether you're happy or not happy. It shouldn't be a debate. It should be a process of living out your joy to the fullest. This is a great opportunity for us to just really quickly give our contact information. If you need us, reach out. This is what we do for a living, so we are experts in what we do. So I'm going to start with Crystal. Give us that information, how to get in touch with you.
You can email me at crystalgunn@gmail.com, and it's Gunn, G like George, UNN, @gmail.com. You can also find me on Crystallized with 1L.faith. So www.crystallized.faith. Don't try to put a .com after that. It's just right. Crystallized.faith. And also at theamazingwomannetwork.com.
Thank you. Rochelle, how can we get in touch with you?
You can reach me. You can visit my website and find my information there. It's www.personalprotecther.com. You can reach me via email at personalprotecther@gmail.com. You can find me on Facebook under Rochelle Morton. And what else? You'll see the cell phone number if you go to my website.
Okay, great. And I am Heather Heteru, your personal change coach. You can find me at yourinspiredjourney.com. You can definitely email me. You can email me at my website at heather@yourinspiredjourney. You can reach out to me by phone at 313-759-7855. You can reach me on that business line. I am open. I schedule one-on-one sessions if you don't feel comfortable in groups. In my learning series that we have going on right now, we have the Unleash the Shero learning series happening every Friday night up till the 27th of August. So this past week, we were introducing the Shero's code, unlocking the Shero's code. And so the second week that we have coming up is identifying your Shero. So how to identify your Shero? And our final session, our final learning series is about activating those superpowers. And so just for resources like that, keep on listening for us. We'll be back next week, next Monday. Unfortunately, Crystal Gunn will not be in the house, but we're going to hold it up anyway. We're going to hold it up anyway. So we thank you for joining EMIY Podcast today with our illustrious host, Calvin Mann, on vacation, letting the women take over. And our engineer and producer here, Jay Boog, in this house, keeping it up for us. We thank you all for joining us today, and have an awesome, awesome day.
See you on the 29th.
See you then.
Bye.
Something is missing. It wasn't about taking, it was all about getting.